Just kidding. Matt. So, I wanted to cook a very, very standard Italian classic called pasta e fagioli, or as you may know, pasta fazool. So I wore my straight out of the basement, my Uncle Louis shirt. Straight out of the basement. Anyway, when I was a little kid, the local Italian Catholic church put together a cookbook, and they had all the old Italian women in the congregation. Everybody submitted a recipe, and then they put it together in a cookbook. There's a lot of versions of pasta fazool, but basically it's pasta and beans in some sort of sauce. So 1 can, 1.5 cloves of garlic, 1 small onion, or I'm using 1 big onion, a carrot, a couple of stalks of celery, 10 cups of water, okay? Or if you want to use chicken stock, that's fine. Open a container of chicken stock, or, I use usually like chicken base, like Better Than Bouillon, and I'll put all the way. But basically for each recipe, 1 can of tomato sauce, 10 of these cups of water, or chicken stock, or whatever you want to use. I'm gonna make you guys a vegetarian version of this. There's no meat in it. But keep in mind, you can add some pancetta, which is uncured Italian bacon, okay? Or you can use just even a couple of pieces of regular bacon, render that first, and then we'll go through the steps. You're gonna use 1 can, you're gonna dump the sauce, then this same can you're gonna fill the can with little Italian pasta. It's called ditalini or tubatini, and then you use 1 can of cannellini beans, which are like white kidney beans. You can use Great Northern beans too if you can't find cannellini beans, but I like cannellini beans. I also prefer 2 cans per recipe. You can use just 1, but I like 2 because 1 of the cans I'll sort of puree so that it gives the broth or the juice a little bit of thickness. And then you want some Parmesan or Reggiano cheese. I'm going to put in a little bit of oregano, some dried oregano, dried parsley. And then over here we've got olive oil, black pepper, and just some sea salt. So a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in a pan, okay? And then I just chopped up the onion, I chopped up the celery, and I chopped up the carrot. And I'm just sauteing it with a little bit of crushed red pepper, black pepper, and salt. Just sauteing it so that it's gonna caramelize just a little and soften, because while the stuff is boiling, while you're cooking the pasta, you'll see it's also gonna soften as well. A great secret ingredient to put into this, if you want, and some people think this is crazy, but a little bit of anchovy paste, or 1 or 2 anchovies that you saute right now in the olive oil to break them down. I swear to you, it will not taste like fish. It will literally give another layer of flavor. Okay, so I've made kind of like a little open. Can you shoot down in here? I made like a little open spot in the middle, and I put a little bit extra of that. So this is a good time if you're ever gonna cook tomato paste or anchovy paste for a sauce. Put a little bit of that in there, make sort of a hot spot in the center, and then kind of drop it in there so that you can just kind of fry that quickly by itself. See, it'll break apart like that. And then I'm gonna put the garlic now in that same spot and just cook the garlic just for a second. You don't want to burn it, but you just want to kind of brown it a little bit. All right, so we're breaking that down. If you use whole anchovies, like real anchovies, then you're probably going to want to break them apart. But once they hit the oil and they hit the oil and the heat, they will innately start to break up. Okay? Just make sure you do it at this point. Don't throw an anchovy in toward the end because it won't cook down. All right, we're going to sort of scrape the bottom of the pot. That is 10 cups. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put another, because again, I'm making a double batch. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Once you start doing this, if you put all the beans in at the beginning and then let the beans cook, the beans are going to be all, as my parents would say, mashado. The beans are going to get all overly mushy and they're going to all break up. Some people like that. I like to have some beans that are chewy because anything in a can, they're already cooked. So what I do is, that's why I've got this. Again, this is a can of pureed beans. I'm adding that. And I like to use all the juice in the cans of beans because that's basically starchy bean water. That's going to help thicken it. It's going to give flavor. So I'm also, that was actually 2 cans because I like that sort of thickness to the sauce. So oregano is an interesting thing because it's always kind of tricky. It's always kind of tricky because if you use too much oregano, I feel like it makes everything taste like pizza sauce. You know what I mean? Mm. So I'm going to do probably, I don't know, a couple of teaspoons of basil, maybe a teaspoon of oregano. You know, give it a shot, taste it. So now we're just kind of bringing this to a boil. The tomato sauce is in here. The aromatics are in here. I'm about to grab, I'm going to drop, because this is basically now just water. That's just fine because it's going to have the bean flavor. It's got salt and pepper. It's got garlic, a little bit of the secret ingredient. But I want to give it a little bit of that meatiness, so I'm going to put some chicken base, like the mushy chicken base, or if you use cubes, a couple of cubes to throw in there. You can use chicken or beef. I don't think it matters. And if you do use bacon to start this, or pancetta, you know, I'll leave it to your taste as to whether or not you want to put some stock in if you do that. You don't want to put grated cheese in until the very end when you turn the flame off and it's hot, because if you put it in beforehand, it's going to melt, it's going to stick and get gummy, and it's a mess. So this all came to a boil, came up to a boil. I kind of turned it down so that it's kind of a simmer, and then I dropped in 2 of these cans full of the little pastas. Okay, again, the 2 that you would look for, the name of it, one is called ditalini or tubatini. Any of the reserved beans at this point, you can drop in as well. Or you can put them in right at the end, because you could see they're already cooked, and these ones are even broken in half. So, you know, there we go. Okay. At this point, we're literally just waiting for the pasta to cook in the soup. And once it cooks up, it's ready.